Hi guys, got a PS5 controller which has the common problem of stick drift. This happens to so many of these. You can try cleaning it through here and see if you have any luck. Sometimes some contact cleaner or whatever might work out for you, but even if it does work, that is normally only a temporary fix. Here is the controller on gamepadtester.com, and you can just see it's all to the left. So the other one doesn't seem too bad. There might be a slight little in it, but this one thinks it's pushed left all the time, even though. So that's the one that's the main issue. So the best way is to kind of go what we're going to do now. I actually use this little pick guy for getting in. You can use like a knife or a screwdriver or whatever you have, but I find this works pretty well. So you're just popping off the black bits and then work your way around. Till you get towards the middle. And you kind of want to diagonally pull this out, and that should come out. Now when you get to here, you can try snap off these little rings. These little black rings come off, and try and get your contact cleaner in there, which is a bit better. You have more luck getting it in there than you would before you took off the black bit, but still, like I said, it's still only probably a temporary fix. The next step then is to remove the R1 and L1 buttons. So just get below them and pry. That is normal. The next step is to remove the 4 little black screws. You've 1, 2 under your R1 and L1, and you've got the bottom. You've got 1 here and 1 here. So the next thing then is to separate the halves of your controller. Get your pick in or whatever you're using, pry tool. Separate the sides. I'm just shoving that back together. And then you have 2 little hinges here. Just show you can show them. There's 2 little hinges. So pry these with. The controller's never been apart. It might feel a bit tight, but don't worry about it. Just work your way, be careful, you should be able to work your way loose. And there is our controller. Just slowly work your way around. Like, you'll have to put a bit of force, but you shouldn't have to yank it either, you know. So like, just make sure your hinges haven't connected, you know, slip back on as you're moving it around, and it should come apart. The next thing we're going to do is lift up the battery. And there's a screw underneath the battery we're going to get rid of. These are 2 little ribbon cables here. This one is connected to the microphone, which is connected to this little square, and then this one is going through here. So disconnect the 2 of them. The microphone is falling out, that's nothing to worry about, it just slides back in. So we can then remove. Now some people like to leave the battery in because sometimes when you go to pull this out, it can be very tight, and people have pulled the whole connector off the board because it does just pull out. So what I would say do is just give it a little pull. You shouldn't have to go too tight. If it's really tight, just leave it in, just leave it alone. There's no point risking damaging it. If it comes out, it comes out. there's no, especially if you can't solder, if you pull that off the board, you're in trouble. And the next thing I want to do is remove the remaining ribbon cables from this board. So you've one up here, one here. This one just pulls out. This is where I wish I had some fingernails. So there's those all out. Okay, so the next thing then is to lift out the board. Just push it through. There is wires to connect to this, so bear that in mind. You don't want to overextend them. So these just pop off. This controller is filthy. You can see there's what I presume is dog hair inside it and everything, so I'm hoping that a good clean will solve this problem. So remember, if you say only want to do one of these, I would recommend doing all four, but if you're only going to do one, remember, because now this came out, you flipped it around. So like my left is this one here, even, you know, this is the left now because it's reversed because I'm looking at it. But I would do all four if I was you. God, this is actually filthy. There's so much dog hair in this. But I'm only going to do one of these on camera, but I recommend you do all four if it's your controller. While you're here, you might as well. This speaker sometimes can come out as well. You can just pop it back in if it does. There's nothing to worry about. I'm not going to stress those wires out, am I? No, okay. Might need something smaller than that. You don't want to bend these too much because you don't want to damage where they're soldered to the board. I just go just enough to get the white thing out. I think might a bit much there, but that's okay. So this is your issue. Get the camera to focus there. This little silver piece gets dirty, and the little track that it runs on also gets dirty. So I'm going to clean them with a bit of isopropyl and a Q-tip. It's worth bearing in mind that sometimes they can be too damaged to fix, and in that case you can replace them, and I'll drop a link to some replacements down below. If you do this fix and it hasn't made your controller any better, it means that you're just going to have to replace these little potentiometers here. Now I'm using this wooden Q-tip just because I find less fibres come off it. You can use a normal Q-tip, it's fine, but just when you are doing that, just make sure no little white fibres get trapped on like sometimes when you use normal little fibres will get trapped in the little ridges and stuff here. So just be careful with that. Just make sure you're not leaving. Even there I can kind of feel it tugging on this one. So just I'll let these dry as well. And the other thing which is important to do is clean where this guide runs on this part of the controller. There's a dog hair on this one already. So there is some dirt coming on. I'm not sure if the camera can pick that up, but there is dirt coming off this one. Okay, so when we're going putting it back together, it's important that there's two little dots there, two little pegs. they want to be at the bottom of, so you're putting them in with those pointing down. That could be the best way to do it. Put it back, there's a little peg it goes onto, so clip it onto the peg and then close this up to it. Sorry guys, I couldn't quite do that around the camera. When you're pushing these back in, you'll feel it snap back in place, so you'll know it's right then. I'm going to do these next 3 off camera, there's no point, it's just the same procedure again, and I'm going to give this a bit of a clean, get all these hairs and stuff out of it, and then I'll come back for reassembling the controller. Okay guys, now we'll start to reassemble it. If your speaker came off, that just drops into this little slot. You want a little pad on this side, and there's like kind of 2, you'll see they kind of drop down to make contact with these. You want those there. Then put your caps back on. More dug here. And then you want to put these through. Make sure this is seated correctly. Just, you see there, it should be seated down. And just make sure as you're flipping this that you don't pinch any of your ribbon cables or lose them. The next thing then to do is to start plugging back in your ribbons. Just 2 little tabs each side of that ribbon that I was just using to help push it in. Because it's kind of a long ribbon, I didn't want it to just start bending up on me. These are the 2 little tabs I was talking about because the next thing we want to do then is put the battery cover back on. Just want to re-slide in the microphone into that little slot first. Next thing then is to reinstall the battery. When putting the battery back in, there's a little bracket just here. You put the wires underneath. Just a little, just keeps them tidy out of the way. The next thing you want to do is put your halves back together. This can be a little tricky. Okay, that actually went easier for me than I would expect it to go for you, but it can be a little bit tricky to get it to line up nice, but just take your time with it, it should go back together. Next step then is to put back in your 4 screws you took out earlier. Next thing then is to put this back in. This kind of goes in diagonally and then comes down. And then just snap it back into place. final part then is to snap your trigger buttons back on. Okay guys, here we are back at the tester. You can see there's a slight right to it now. If you remember at the start of the video, this was shown as being fully left all the time. So this is the one, this was shown as being here all the time, even when the stick wasn't been touched. So there is a slight right. That's probably not enough for you to notice it really. But I mean, if you got this and you weren't happy, you could replace the little potentiometer, as I said. I'll link below to them. If you got here and your controller is still doing the drift and you're happy that you did put it back together correctly, it could just be that potentiometer is worn out, and then you will have no choice really but to either change it. That's really all you can do in this situation. If it's still showing after cleaning that it's, you know, the drift is still really bad. Okay guys, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching.